Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer. And today with me, I have an amazing lady. Her name is Miss Lesley Evans. Did I say that correctly?
You sure did.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I had an opportunity to speak to Lesley, and I really enjoyed our conversation and how she shows up in the world. So here she is. She's going to be talking to us a little bit about her expertise, how she got involved in that. And I wanted to also thank you guys for joining in and listening to this conversation as well. So, Lesley, welcome to the show. Please tell us a little bit more in detail as far as your background and how you got involved doing what you do and why is that important.
Absolutely. My pleasure to be here. Thank you for asking me to be part of this. So really, um, this started for me many years ago, over 30 years ago. I graduated from psychiatric nursing.
Mm.
And had this checklist of everything I thought I wanted in life. Graduate from college, marry your college sweetheart, get a job in public health, have kids, have a house, all of those things. And over those years of making sure I was getting through my checklist and then making sure that my checklist was doing okay, I lost myself in that process. I became all about all of those people. I was taking care of my kids, my husband, my work, primary support to my mom, always being there for everyone else. And really my health was suffering and I wasn't doing so well because I was sacrificing all of that. And I had a conversation with, she was 16 at the time, my eldest, and she was talking about a boy, which we usually do when we're that young. And I was giving, the good motherly advice because she was giving up who she was to be with this boy and doing things she wouldn't normally do. And, all of those things. And I remember saying to her, if they don't love you for who you are or support you in all your passions, then you shouldn't be with them. And after I had that conversation, I really sat down and looked at myself and what kind of model I was being as both a mom and a woman to my three girls, because I have three girls. And really, I didn't want them to learn that being of service or all of that was about self-sacrifice. That's not what I wanted them to learn.
Right.
So that, of course, brought about a series of changes where my husband of 21 years and I knew we weren't doing the right thing being together for us or our kids and separated. And it was all this transition as I started to go through this that I really discovered what my passions were and who I was. And so I started to look into more training or more learning of the alternative side. So that is more the spirit, energy, however you describe it. And took some courses, got my own support through that. And so probably for the last 15 years, I've been delving into that piece. And what I've learned, especially over the last couple of years, is they go beautifully together. My experience as a psychiatric nurse therapist, helping people for that over 30 years, and my training and experience in the alternatives. So for me, it's the Akashic records. So really delving into my own intuition when I'm helping people, and I take the best of both of those worlds and meld them together to help people to move through being stuck, being overwhelmed, low energy, losing their passion for life, knowing they want more and not knowing where to start, burnt out. I mean, right now, there's so much of that in the world, the fear, and then everybody working so hard to try and make sure they're okay, or healthcare workers, caregivers, moms, everybody's burnt out. And
So, Lesley, you just brought up a really important point, actually, many important points. First of all, as role model makers, I often say many parents inadvertently they decide that, when they have kids, they're going to sacrifice themselves, sacrifice everything so that their kids can have the best of everything. The trouble is that inadvertently, what we're also teaching them is that you come second or you come last. And that's who wants that for their kids to we do not want our kids to put themselves second or put themselves last, right? But
I
that's
agree.
the model, that's the lifestyle model a lot of times that we give them. And then as a result, when they grow up, they have a really hard time figuring out how to make themselves happy because they've learned that you come last, right? So really, really important point, and thank you for actually bringing that up. And then the second part is that eventually, as many of us are experiencing as we get later into years, is the fact that when you decide, fine, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what it is that makes me happy and what it is that my life is all about, many people have difficulty identifying their sense of identity, right? And some of the stuff that you're describing becomes really, really valuable into tapping into understanding where you come from, your identity, and things like that. And many of the symptoms that you just described, like burnouts and low self-esteem and mood issues and just losing the zest for life, all of that comes when you are not aligned with who you are, what your top values are. And so I see how this is so important, not only in how we show up in the world, but also what the kind of role model that we become for our kids and the lifestyle example that we give them that they're going to base their life on, basically. So it's really, really important. So thank you for sharing all of that. And I hope that the rest of the audience actually heard what I just said when you were talking as well. So in this kind of situation, what are some of the challenges that you typically find the people that are coming to you are facing, like the problems that they come up with?
well, I think one of the biggest things that I hear is guilt.
Mm,
Feeling guilty over starting to try and do things for yourself.
right.
And then that guilt just leads them to overwhelm,
Right.
really overwhelm of trying to do too many things at once, not knowing which steps to take. How do I figure out what I like, who I am,
Right.
what my values are? How do I do all that? And so that overwhelm comes in, anxiety, and some people go to just feeling really, really stuck
Right.
and not knowing how to move forward in that. So that would be a lot. And like I said, that burnout, just exhausted, and knowing that what they're doing, they're not happy, but it's all they've done.
Right.
So they don't know how to move forward from that.
Right. Especially heart-centered, service-oriented individuals are notorious for this.
I
And
agree.
I just wanted to take a moment and let you guys know, if it's any help, you have permission to be selfish, to put yourself first, right?
Yes.
And give yourself that permission as well to put yourself first, to be selfish. You deserve it, basically, and those around you deserve it. They deserve the best of you, and in order for you to serve them with your best, you need to put yourself first. So I wanted to say that. So thank you. All right. So Lesley, having said that, these challenges normally when people want to make challenges, wanting is one thing, but then being willing to change is another one, right? And
Yes.
in order to change, you kind of have to lose certain things and you have to adopt certain other things. So what are the challenges that you see when people want to make this challenge, but then the struggles that come up in life?
And again, I go back to, I believe that greatest thing is that guilt, that feeling that they're letting go of responsibility that they're supposed to have. And my reminder is that you can care without carrying. In fact, it's important for other people to learn how to do things in their journey and their kids in their adulthood. So I would say guilt is the biggest issue that, and guilt just puts more heaviness on you.
Mm.
And it makes it harder to take those steps because you're doing things from a space of guilt rather than a space of love.
Right. Right. Absolutely. That's powerful. All right. So a person shows up, they have
Mhm.
these challenges and setbacks. They want to make a change. Change requires certain other forms of energy to be put into this. What are some of the tips and tricks that you have for our audience members? Things that after watching this, they can kind of start implementing and hopefully turn the ship around a little bit for the better and head in the right direction.
Absolutely. So my first tip would be small steps. And I'm sure people have heard this before, but small steps are so incredibly important. And often people think or they judge their steps as being too small and they shouldn't have to go down smaller.
Mm.
So it doesn't matter how small this step is, break it down into small steps. And if you are having trouble taking a step, a next step, or the first step, it usually means you need to break it down smaller.
Ah, that's a good point.
So just keep breaking it down. For instance, I worked with a lady who she was a psychiatrist who had a hard time cleaning her fridge. So she said, how am I going to get this done? So she said, every day I'm going to take one item out of the fridge. I'm going to decide if I keep it or if I don't. And I'm going to clean that part of the fridge. And then the next day, go back and do the same thing again. One item, keeping it or not, clean that part of the fridge. Took her a while to get the fridge done, but it got done.
That's beautiful.
Right. So break it down into smaller steps. And do not judge the steps you're taking because every step is important. The second thing I'm going to say, and you talked about this, Dr. L, is that being of service does not mean self-sacrifice. Because you said this too, is that it's okay to take time out for yourself. Not only is it okay, it's important. If you want to be of service in a way that helps others, then you've got to take the time for yourself. It's a different type of service going from I'm doing this because I love this rather than I'm doing this because I feel guilty if I don't.
Right.
The people that you're serving actually get more out of it when you're coming from a place of rest, restoration, a place of love than they do out of you doing it from guilt and fatigue.
Right. And actually, that's, talking about us being energetic beings and the exchange of energy. When you have that internal guilt and you perform an act of service, you also transmit that sense of guilt. So the other side, the receiving end, also will receive it, but with a guilty conscience as well, that this person is just putting out so much for me. And you kind of pass it forward, this guilt. So it would be really good to get rid of that. So we don't pass it down generationally or to our loved ones and stuff like that. Very important.
Exactly. And the third thing that I talk about a lot is that there's this myth out there that multitasking is the way to be, that we should all be great at multitasking. I'm going to tell you, statistically, only less than 2% of the entire population can actually multitask effectively. It is not the way to get things done, and it's not the way to get things done quickly. And so the other piece of that is living life mindfully. And I know a lot of people, when they hear the word mindful, they think, oh, that means quiet, meditation, all of those things. For me, mindfulness is about being in the moment, each moment that you're in. It doesn't have to be quiet. It can be loud and fun, or quiet and meditative, or serious. It's being in the moment that's important, and attending in that moment. And so that goes against that whole multitasking thing. And one of the things I like to say is how many people walk every day? It's a bit of a trick question. We all walk. If we're able to, we all walk from one room to the next, from our cars to an appointment, we all have what I call transition steps. And those are usually the time that we really let our minds go with all the things we need to do in a day. Try taking those little 5 or 10 seconds or 20 seconds where we're transitioning from one place to the next, and really focus on what your body is doing and the miracle of your body, and quiet those thoughts down. And I can tell you, if you use those throughout the day, it will actually help you to be way more effective in all other things, rather than letting this constant thoughts go.
Right. That's actually really powerful. That mindfulness. One of the things, first of all, on the issue of multitasking, neurologically, just so you guys know, that is proven scientifically. It is just not the most efficient way. Every time you shift your focus from one task to the next, it takes tremendous resources in your body and your brain to do that shift. And the faster you do it, yes, you might get really good at it, but the faster you're using that energy. So either it becomes unsustainable, or you lead a life of overwhelm because you are juggling multiple things at the same time, which requires lots of, in computer terms, RAM, basically.
Mhm.
So your efficiency, your speed drops, basically. And anyways, just wanted to mention that.
Right. Your effectiveness goes down because you start making more mistakes. It takes you longer to do things because your brain has to get back in that mode again.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So just wanted to mention that. Awesome. Lesley, there are so many pearls here, and you're sharing this, and it's as if nothing. And some of them sound like it's simple, and I've heard it before, but really it's the application of it, like the mindfulness that you're talking about. It's the application of it that makes a difference. So naturally, when it comes to application, sometimes we need extra hand holding, guidance, problem solving, or even just a soundboard so that we can share and talk this stuff out. So how can people find out more about you, follow you, get support from you, and connect with you?
Absolutely. So the first thing is you can go to my website, which is riseofthephoenix.org. And you can also email me if you have any questions, Lesley at riseofthephoenix.org, Lesley. The other thing is I'm offering to everyone that's here a 20-minute free intuitive guided session.
Awesome.
So if you'd like to take advantage of that, you can go to my website, and there's a little link on there that says book a call. And I'm happy to just chat with you for 20 minutes or so and see, what's going on for you, find out those next steps, and if what we can do together seems to work for both of us. I have a one-day workshop coming up that I've got on sale for 97 cents, usually $97. And it's all about just being present and aware and building that piece.
Awesome. Very cool. So audience members, you heard it. I'm going to put the details that Lesley just mentioned in the description box of the video as well. So please go ahead and click there, connect. It's very important for us to practice connecting. That's also something that it is very important for us to teach to the next generation. We're getting more and more disconnected. So absolutely find ways to connect to people, find ways to connect, in this particular case, to Lesley. Take advantage of what she just mentioned to you. Definitely very powerful. And thank you, Lesley, for actually offering that. So I really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
And if you haven't already done so, click subscribe on the button so you get to hear the latest from our experts that come here on the show, as well as the gifts and the expertise that they share with you. And once again, Lesley, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here today. Any final words of wisdom before we part?
The last piece that I'm going to say is I think we all need to give ourselves and each other a lot more grace. We're all learning on this journey. We're all trying to figure things out, and we don't always get things right. And to just give ourselves a bit of grace, that one choice doesn't have to go into 100 choices down the wrong road. It can just be one choice, and give yourself some grace with that, and give a little grace to each other as we're all learning.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys in future episodes. Cheers.
Thank you.